Reason number 8. Great Ape King Vegeta. Alright. So again, there's like multiple factors that go into Great Ape King Vegeta being insane, right? Let's start with the top though. Let's start with like the number 1 point. It has barrier and gives all the other apes on the field barrier. Barrier means it can't be targeted. Barrier essentially means, you know, in this game, since there's no proper board wipes, it's almost like it's indestructible. It can't be touched, can't be removed from the battle unless it gets killed during a fight, which isn't really going to happen that often because he's a big dude. He's thick, right? He's a thick boy. So Great Ape King Vegeta is going to live. So let's start with that. So that mechanic given to this card is insane because it has it and then the apes get it too. It doesn't make any sense, right? So let's go to the next part of the card, which all your Saiyans cost 1 less to combo with. So all those 110Ks, the Goku Super Combo, all those things cost you no energy to combo with. So you could tap out on your turn and still be safe, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't make any sense. That doesn't need to be a thing, right? And I get what they were doing. Like I said, they built this card for the specific deck that they made in testing, and they didn't think to push it. They were like, man, we really need to push Bardock Apes. We want people to play Bardock Apes. So what's the payoff, right? Well, the payoff is 5-drop King Vegeta, and you know what the kicker is? It evolves for 3. Huh? Yeah. It'll evolve on top of a 3-drop. Yeah, for Vegeta for only 3 energy. So what you can do is on your 3rd turn, you can, you know, play your King Vegeta, and then your next turn, if it lives, you play your 5-drop, and that's completely fair. But what they failed to do was they failed to pay attention to the other cards that they designed and the way they worked. Because even on the website, they list 1 interaction with Shugesh, which was Shugesh Explosive Spirit Son Goku. They list 1 interaction on the site. But that's not even the thing. Like, you wouldn't even, like, that's like something you can do. But if you're playing a leader that just awakens really fast, that doesn't really matter. And so they made Great Ape King Vegeta. And like I said, when they made this card and they tested, they didn't push it. They didn't take it to the extreme, which is what we did. That's what the US player base does. Whenever we see cards that we think are insanely powerful or broken, we take them and we push them. And so Bandai didn't think like that. They thought, this is a great payoff for this mono yellow Bardock deck or this Kid Goku deck that we want to make. And we think it's going to be great. And I think people are really going to like it. And they didn't push it. And so that's how it got to be a problem. So that is Great Ape King Vegeta. Shugesh is number 9. So this is not a surprise, but again, this falls into that same trap where it wasn't pushed. And when Bandai saw, you know, they went to an event in California and they saw what the decks were doing, what the Mecha Frieza decks were doing, and they saw they'd be like, you know, Planet, Manaka, they'd search up super combos and they would just go off and play Kaba into Kale into whatever, or they saw them do, you know, Shugesh into King Vegeta, evolve into Big King in turn. Like, they finally realized that they may have messed up, but they didn't learn from that mistake, because even as they're continuing to make sets, they make cards that synergize with this card. And me, I have no problem with them doing that, but they have to make sure that, again, they're not making cards that just pay you. That just pay you for playing them. And so this card is a huge issue. If Magic terms, I always use Magic terms. I know people get annoyed by it, but if you're familiar with Magic, this is like an instant speed Black Lotus that gives flash to any creature cost 3 or less. If you were to put this card in Magic, it would be the most insane thing in the entire world. And so this card continues to be a problem card because it's like, look at the sets that they did now. So if we look at Tournament of Power and they printed the red veggies, which I hate the fact that the red ones work with the green ones. You shouldn't do that. When they designed this set, they should have done something like they did with Universe 11, where they said, if you have a Universe 6 leader, you get this effect. They should have made it static and stick to that. Because, like, they didn't know what they were doing, and their designers are inconsistent, and that's a huge problem. Like, because you know that in testing, you know that they didn't try and push it. They didn't say, let's put the red and the green ones together, let's do a yellow deck with Shugesh, let's push it. Because if they would have saw that on turn 3 on the play, or turn 3 on the play, you can have 8 energy worth of battle cards for free. I mean, yeah, you had to swing Shugesh into Kaba, Kaba into Caulifla, Caulifla into Kale, but you're getting 8 energy worth of battle cards for free. So again, this goes back to they made this card. This card was cool. I liked it because it was like they were like, let's put it in this deck. And then again, they didn't do that whole thing where they made it static. They should have made it static and said, if your leader is a yellow Saiyan, get this effect for the super combo. But Shugesh is a big problem card that leads to these repeatable experiences, and again leads to that idea that I talked about earlier, where your players learn from what you give them. So again, what you've given me is I need to compress the game and I need to do powerful things really fast. I need to do things for free. If I'm not doing things for free, my deck is bad. That's what you're teaching us as you're continuing the game, and that's what causes these problems, right? So anyway, I digress. Let's move on. Number 10, right? This is going to be, people are going to be like, oh, why is this a problem? SS3 Goku leader. My problem with SS3 Goku leader is the fact that it is a generic good stuff leader that invalidates the purpose of all non-yellow or android leaders. Start the game ahead on energy, can play all the cards with no risk, and then they untap 3 at the end of turn. Did I get all that? Did you hear all that? This card completely invalidates any other deck, unless you're yellow, unless you're an android leader. Because yellow leaders have access to Shugesh, and then android leaders have access to Purple Force Cell. So we're back into that same line of thinking of Cell, right? Cold Bloodlust, and then X Leader. And then SS3 just stepped up to take Soul Striker's place. And SS3 is just better because you can just tap all your energy on your turn, no worries about it, untap 3, and you're fine. What this does is this takes an issue that I have with the game and maximizes it, because it's like, not only do I get to start on head, I'm the only deck in the game that can mitigate play-draw disparity, right? Only deck in the entire game, only during the entire game that can do it. And whenever I play a battle card, when I'm awakened, I don't get punished for it at all. You could counter it. You could pull Cold Bloodlust it. I don't care. I invested 6 energy, I'm getting 3 back. I invested 5, I'm getting 3 back. I'm going to have 4 at the end of my turn. Go ahead, try and kill me. You can't, right? So this leader, again, like I stated, and what frustrates me is like if you just take any other deck, so it's like, let's just take any other leader or any other deck or any other archetype and go, oh, dude, I want to play Maidens. Like, that's the prime example. I want to play Maidens. Dude, Rebrand, she's so sweet, right? The back of the card, it kills the thing. Like, it's dope. Why wouldn't I just play SS3 leader, though? Do my strategy faster. It makes sense. Like, because you have to do things fast in this game because the precedent that we've set before, right? So SS3 leader is always the go-to. I wouldn't be surprised if SS3 leader is the most played deck at the upcoming events, aside from yellow decks, right? So that's my problem with SS3 leader. If you can't tell, I'm pretty passionate about it because I hate the fact that I can't play. There's no point in playing any other leader in the game right now. There's none, unless you're playing, like I said, yellow or an android leader, because you get the payoffs from those. Like, even if you play a black leader like Mass Saiyan, the problem is they just lose to things. Like, they just hard countered by apes, right? All right. Anyway, next card. Foreseeing Hit. So I think that having a card that has this effect is super cool, and I think it's powerful. But again, it's an example of a precedent that they continue to set, which is they just create powerful cards that just pay you. You don't risk anything. You tap 4 energy, you play this card, you strip 2 cards from your opponent's hand, that's it. The only time where you have to think about it is if you're playing against one color and 2 leaders that are viable right now, which are Mecha Frieza and Ginyu, that have access to Cold Bloodlust. If you're not playing against those, if you're not playing against those decks, you just jam this card, and that's how this game is in general. Like, you're not gonna not play your best card on the turn that you have it. Like, oh, I have Foreseeing Hit, I'm gonna play it this turn. Like, you just jam the card and it just pays you. There's no risk involved. There's no choice. Like, and that's a problem with this game. There's a huge lack of meaningful choice, which causes it to feel stale. Even though you can play great games, right? But you make the same decisions, you make the same steps. All plays are predictable. You don't get rewarded for it, and all your cards just pay you. That's the problem with this format. That's the problem with this game right now. All your cards just pay you. It doesn't really matter. And so we have these issues. And so now you're even getting more 3 through 5 drops that are compressing the game. And going forward, what Bandai also is going to have to realize soon, and I hope they do, when they make these gimmicky sets, and they make these super niche decks, right? What people do is they just pull the best cards out of them that can be applied somewhere, and they put them into their broken strategy. So if they continue to make 3 through 5 drops that compress the game and that are super powerful, that's all we're going to continue to do. And the play draw disparity becomes even more exaggerated. It becomes more, like, it just becomes worse. Because every single time, like, if I go first, I play my powerful card first. You're behind. If I'm SS3 leader and I'm on the play, I'm going to play my hit on my turn 3. You don't have a chance, right? I just get to do it. And then you have to be able to defend it or not. And then, guess what? I have another one the next turn and play it the next turn, right? So this is the problem. And so foreseeing hit is not necessarily a problem card. I do think that it should cost more, or it should have a drawback of something like coming into play in rest mode. Which when I posted that, people disagreed about, like, oh, cards shouldn't have that ability, because then they can just kill it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm playing, like, it's a risk to play this card, but what this card gives me is knowledge of your hand. I get to look at your cards, disrupt your next play, or disrupt your defense, and then, like, if I want this body to live, I have to protect it, so I'm making choices. Right now, there's no meaningful choice in this game. You just do the things, and that's a big issue, and Foreseeing Hit is one of those cards that shows you that, right? Number 12, the secret rare, Goku. This card says you win the game, so that's problem number 1. Worse is they not only make it competitive, they make it a tier 1.5 strategy that is countered by narrow cards and limited colors, and the price continues to climb. So it's cool if you want to make a card that says you win the game, but you better have to work super hard for it. Like, I'm talking like Exodia or something. Like, something that's just insane. Something that makes you work hard and you get paid for working hard. Whereas this card doesn't necessarily do that. It's a narrow it's a completely viable strategy. It's a card that's climbing $100+, which is insane because this game has terrible price support, so why would you ever pay $100+ for a card? Makes 0 sense. Secondary market in this game is ridiculous. People are weird. But this card was just a terrible idea. Like I said, it's cool if you want to make a card that wins the game, but don't make it something that's competitive. Like, make it something that's fun. Make it a gimmick deck. Make it so you have to, like, completely dive into a gimmick in order to make it work. Like, that I'm cool with, because it's like, now it's like niche. Like, that is a defined deck in the format. People have to be aware of it. Whereas it's like, now this deck just does all these powerful things anyway, and then just has a card that says, I win the game. I did it. And worst part is there's only 2 colors that can really counter it. Yellow with Crusher Ball and barrier blockers, or blue with Mafuba. You realize that, right? There's 2 colors. So let me just tell you, if you're not playing yellow in this format, your deck is probably bad. Fair? I think it's fair. Because Crusher Ball is the best answer to not only, STR Goku, but pretty much every card in this game, Crusher Ball is the best answer to. So, like, the problem with the secret rare is not only is it playable, not only is it good, not only is it easy to pull off, relatively easy to pull off, but there's only 2 colors that can defend against it. And only 1 color that has the best, most optimal defense against it, which is Crusher Ball and Shugesh into Kid Goku. So, again, makes no sense. Forces narrow play patterns, narrow choices, because if you play any other color besides yellow, if you play blue and you don't play Mafuba, then you're just going to get 2-0'd by this deck, no problem. Right? They're not going to have any issues. All right, so that's point number 12, and I've taken up a lot of time right now. We're over 30 minutes, so whoever's watching, thank you. But reason number 13. Reason number 13. Reason number 13, if you guys haven't already guessed it, it's Bandai. Bandai is reason number 13. Let's start with their design philosophy, all right? All this is pure speculation on my part, but from what I see, from the evidence that's provided, they're designing cards because they want the game to be cool. They design cool cards, and they design cool cards with cool characters. The game is fast. The game is active. Like, these are all the things that they want to strive for. But the problem is they're creating a more uninteractive game as they continue to go forward, as they print power cards, and they're reducing the amount of interaction between the actual players itself. Because it's like, you're either going to go off on your turn, and then I'm going to go off on my turn, or that's how it's going to be. And so that ends up being a huge flaw with the design. And then just in general, like I stated, and everything that I listed, is they just keep doing things that pay you. Which, again, that causes massive issues. They just keep giving you cards that pay you. Anything between the 3 and 5 drop spot, it just pays you for playing it. There's no choice. There's no risk involved. Like I said, games feel repetitive, and it's all because of the way they currently design, which is they design everything in pods. Like you can tell that they, like when they release a set, they design that set on its own. They design the decks in the set on its own, and they just release them with no further testing into the rest of the card pool, which is evident by all the different broken combinations that we've come up with as a player base that they haven't spoken about, haven't touched on. They don't have anybody writing for them, right? Because like what they should do is, you know, it sounds crazy, but I don't know if you're familiar with the old Dragon Ball Z game from Panini. Like, they would have somebody write an article on their own website, right, or at their WordPress page, but they would have someone write an article about a deck that was competitive, and it was something that the actual, you know, playtester developer made, and then they showed it off. Right? And then it got people thinking, like, wow, why did the designer make this choice in their deck? Like, this kind of thing. But when Bandai did that, they posted their Cell deck, they forgot Android 17s or 18s, whatever, right? And then they posted the yellow deck, and the yellow deck was just bad. So, it's evident to me that they're not playtesting or designing cards that are based off of everything. They're doing it based off of just what they're given, the design sheets, and they're recycling the same exact effects over and over and over again, which is disheartening. And then again, the next part is the amount of sets being released with no thought into the competitive scene. They keep releasing sets over and over and over again. If you want to get in this game, you have to buy in hard, buy in all the time, keep buying cards. You got to stay competitive. Got to stay competitive, man. You got to keep buying these sets. But there's no thought when they design a set on the competitive scene. Anybody, right? Anybody who has any sort of knowledge of what was happening with Mecha Freeze, when Mecha Freeze was released, would have either changed it immediately or going forward into the next set, they would have either designed stuff that was like counters to it, but not silver bullets, right? Just counters to it. Stuff that punished the opponent for playing a certain way, punished the opponent for having lower life than you or something. Like they would have made mechanics like that, or, you know, they would have, like I said, just changed the card, like, immediately. But they also would have taken the decks. So what you do is, when you want to design a set, you want to compare it. It's what I do whenever I'm playtesting for a set that's about to release. I playtest the power level of those cards that just came out to the cards that we had in the past. I take the old decks, and I take new decks with new cards, and I play them against each other. Even before I have all the knowledge of the set, which I know people argue with me with, but I just want to feel how cards are. I want to feel how they feel within a game. Feel if it's powerful, feel if it's good enough, see if it compares well. This is stuff they should be doing so they can test the power level of their own cards. But it's obvious they don't do that. And so what this comes off to me as, when they just keep releasing sets over and over again, they just want your money. And that's okay. They're a business. Like, that's what I want everyone to understand. I'm not mad at them for being a business, because, shoot, if I had people buying my product all the time and I barely had to put work into R&D or development, why would I change until someone really rose a huge stink about it? There's no point in changing until it starts to matter and starts to affect the bottom line. So I don't fault them for that, but at the same time, as a person that's a competitive gamer and a consumer, like, I want more. Like, I want you to give me the effort. I want you, like, take me out to dinner, you know? Treat me right before you take me to bed and you take my money. Like, you know, that's all I want. I just want to have a nice date with a woman that I met in Vegas, and then I want to be able to have my way with her and then pay her before she leaves, right? That's all I want, Bandai. Simple, right? I'm a classy guy sometimes. But anyway, that's all I want. And so right now, they just keep designing sets with no thinking about the format, or no thinking about the meta decks that we create, or the way that we break formats, and then just taking that and like, okay, well, when we're designing sets, we need to make sure that we have this deck is, you know, these are the tier 1 strategies that we're designing that can either counteract or supplant the decks that currently existed, and we want to create this as our format. We want X deck to be like, we want deck A, deck B, deck C, deck E, like, and we want them to counter each other or work against each other to form that metagame, right? And to allow people to be able to make choices from week to week based off the way the metagame is shifting. But they don't do that. Obviously, I'm putting more thought into this than they have into their design and testing. And the last thing, probably the biggest thing, lack of adequate pricing and incentive. I made this statement before. You have a card on the secondary market that's going for $100+. There's no tournament right now, aside from an ARG tournament that gives you prize credit, or a 1K that's held outside of Bandai standards and regulations that gives you $100 worth of prizing. There's no tournament that does that that's sponsored by Bandai. You need to remember that. And so until Bandai fixes this, you need to make sure that you're smart with your money. And I get it. Everyone can make choices. You're an adult. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we're making better choices. And we need to hold them accountable. That's all this video is. This video is just me holding them accountable. You can disagree with it. You can like it. You can hate it. Whatever. But I just want to make sure that they're held accountable. Because if we don't say anything, then they just get to continue the course. But no, if we hold them in check and we hold them accountable, we make these issues known, they have to do something about it. If we get loud enough, they have to. Because what's bad and what's great about this generation is it's like people are just like, why can't you just be happy with what you have? Why can't you just be happy that you have a game to play? Just, we have Dragon Ball. You should just be happy. Oh, I'm happy that I have Dragon Ball. That's the thing. But it would be complacent of me to not want more for this game. And if you don't want more for this game, you're the problem. If you don't want this game to succeed, if you don't want this game in the big three and to last for 10 years plus, you're the problem. And if you're not speaking about this stuff, you're the problem. Because we have to hold them accountable. Otherwise, they're going to get away with it like they did with the games that they've made in the past. And we can't stand for that. If we like this game, we can't stand for it. And so, those were my 13 reasons why. This video is super long. I'm splitting up into 2 parts. For 1 and 2 will both go up today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for everything you do for me. And like I said before, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still making content, and I'm still playing the game itself. I still have decks that I'm playing that are competitive, but it's just time for me to get my money back and reinvest it in a more smart, efficient manner. And then I'm going to try and focus on having fun, both with Super and with other games that I truly enjoy. And so maybe you guys will start seeing more content from me on other TCGs, or just maybe just my life as a TCG player, or competitive TCG player, or whatever. But whatever you guys want to see, post it in the comments. Again, I appreciate all of you. Like I said, if you disagree or agree with this video, doesn't matter. I just want your opinion. Fill up the comments. Like, let's talk about it. Let's get the stuff out there. Make a Facebook post. Be an idiot. Enjoy your life. Hug your wife, hug your kids. If you don't have either of those things, get a dog. If you don't have a dog, then you should hang out with your friends or something. Or just play with games, because games let you interact with people. But anyway, I love this game. I love this community. Thank you guys so much for everything. Again, thank you for watching. Sorry it took so long. Okay, bye!